I don't know how it started. I don't know what you did. Now I'm the gal that's chasing you up. Flip my lid. Come here, eagle beaver, baby.
Hello and welcome to
Was That an Orgy? Woo!
starring Charlene and Teresa Bawd, two sisters that explore the topics of sex, sexuality, gender, and sex positivity. We will also try to answer the question, was that an orgy?
Yeah.
We're alive!
Oh my God, we're alive. It's the final countdown. Yeah. You know, speaking of rock and roll, did you notice the shirt I'm wearing?
Oh,
It's
a
your
Nirvana.
original Nirvana shirt. It's a hand-me-down
my
from you.
God, it's a hand-me-down from me.
Yeah, do you remember this?
That's got to be old, man.
It's old as fuck. Did you ever
'Cause-
see Nirvana live?
No, I didn't.
Oh, good.
No.
I just dated us. So hardcore.
I was way too young to see Nirvana live,
I
right?
know. That's old people music.
Yeah, except it's cool now. Just not if you were alive at that time.
Exactly.
Definitely.
Yeah, it was retro by the time
Yeah.
we discovered them. Yeah, see?
For sure.
Turn your phone off.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I got it. Oh yeah. I
Oh,
better
so
silence
just
my
to
phone
put
too.
it out there for all you genital men and ladies, we are answering viewer questions today. So
Yeah.
feel free to chime in. I would say live questions get priority. And other than that, we'll
Absolutely.
get to these like cowardly backlogs of people hiding behind their anonymity.
Yes.
Yeah, although we love those cowards too, because, you
I
know,
love those cows.
yeah, it's fun to be in contact with people and, you know, and to feel like we can pretend that we're helping.
Yes.
Yeah.
I like to pretend to help. That's my favorite thing to do. Like
Me
to
too.
walk in once someone's done 9/10 of the dishes and be like, "Oh, do you need some help?"
You know, right? Let me
Yeah.
put away this one plate. Yeah.
Ugh,
Crash. Oh, whoops.
Dude, I have cat pants on. I'm that gal.
Hence the camel toe. I mean, no, wait, that's
Do
a
I have camel
no.
toe?
You don't have a camel toe, not yet. We'll wait till your pants right up a little
Wait,
more.
let's like
These
do I have
high-waisted pants
camel
are.
toe?
Yeah, you do now. Yeah. There's some deep flossing going on right there with that
It
G-string.
just got weird.
That's right.
So
Vagina
gonna-
dentata floss.
we're gonna try to keep an eye on the questions for sure.
Nah,
And Michael
we
always helps
won't.
us.
Yeah.
You know, so if anyone writes to us, we'll look.
Speak for yourself.
You could also just Facebook Messenger me, and
Yeah.
I'll you know, see if it's something that you know, I can say on air,
Yeah.
or if it's a hot picture of a naked body, I'll just look at it and show my sister. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, exactly.
And
then
not
we'll
show
just
my
sit
sister,
here and
actually. She
drool
would
in
prefer
silence. No, I know. I'd be like, oh my,
All
I'm
right.
a virgin.
So I'm gonna start with the most salacious question we have
Oh, boy.
received.
I can't
So,
wait. I can't wait
I'm
to
gonna
hear about it.
paraphrase what this person said.
Mhm.
She was asking, does anybody have any tips for blowjobs and how to give a decent blowjob?
Yes, get a gay best friend and ask him.
And-
That's what I did. Yeah, it worked great. I have to say, like, sorry, I just totally hijacked your whole answer.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was my gay boy best friend, and
Uh-huh.
and we went to one of those restaurants. I think the Montage is closed now, but they had
Oh,
the
yeah.
butcher paper on the tabletop and a
Uh-huh.
little, jar of crayons, and he just started. I asked that question, do you have any tricks? And he's like, oh, do I? And then he
Ah.
drew like a cross section of a man, that had like erection, ball
Wow.
sack, and then, taint, rectum, just met him, booty, like that. And
So be her gay best friend and tell.
well, what
spill-
he said, really? I
Spill
thought-
the Venus.
well, okay, but then you get to answer because I'm sure that,
the Babinus. But
yeah.
it's okay if we both
skilled-
answer.
Okay.
Yeah.
At the same time, like Doublemint twins.
Oh my
Yeah.
God.
Well, have you
Word.
heard of the taint? Yeah. If you taint,
Taint.
well, it's about time you did.
Taint the balls and it taint the butthole.
That's right. It's a chin rest. So what my my husband told me is he was telling me that so of course there's the putting your mouth on it, if that's not Captain Obvious. How novice is this person? Do they
Okay,
is she over there blowing on it
her-
like this?
So her complaints were she's worried about using her teeth, her jaw gets sore, and swallowing freaks her out.
Okay, well, don't swallow then. That's a girl's
Yeah.
choice.
Totally.
I would say, generally speaking, there's some freakazoids out there, but for God's sakes, for the most part, don't use your teeth. I think that's generally accepted as maybe not the way to go. Of course, like working the shaft with your hand. I've heard that the just swirling motion works better than the just straight up and down.
Like a band,
Yeah,
band
like
leader.
or just like you're mining for oil.
Like you have a ketchup container.
Yeah, exactly. Don't do that. Yeah, good lube or lots of spit, I think, is helpful. And then and that's a whole nother sidebar question. Like, what is good lube, right?
Yeah, well, yeah, and everybody's different as far as like, do they want lube or spit or not?
Yeah, exactly. Are you using condoms? Are you not using condoms?
Mhm.
But then my friend, I almost said his name. Oops, don't worry, I won't say it.
Oh my God.
He was in this cross section of the male with the boner and the balls hanging down. He was teaching me about the taint, and how you can
prostate?
the prostate gland, yeah, the prostate, the male G spot inside the rectum.
Yeah.
That he was teaching me how to, you can put a finger inside and use that
Yeah.
little come hither motion. But not all dudes are into the bussy. So, like, to be able
Mhm.
to just even rub the taint,
Mhm.
just in a, just like the tiniest hamster, like rapping on a record, kind of a thing. That is a very pleasurable thing. And
So
I've,
if you can get your hamster to rub the taint, that's even better.
yes,
right?
exactly. All the less for you to do. Just make sure that, he doesn't go inside the rectum, because
Yeah.
that'll wreck them.
That's totally different.
That'll
yeah.
wreck that little hamster. Yeah. Remember how mom used to call them dew hands? Dew hand. Yeah, that little hamster's going to get some dew hand, all right.
Dew hand, all
Yeah,
right.
all right,
He's
exactly.
Super duty.
Yeah. Yeah. Don't
Yes.
Richard Gere the hamster. I mean, that probably never happened. Poor Richard Gere.
Yeah, he probably never did it, but whatever.
Yeah.
It's still his thing. He still
Yeah,
gets it.
his claim to fame.
That's
More
what stuff.
Yeah,
more stuff that helps. I would say
go.
I like to zoom way out and go, okay, before we even get into the technical aspects of it, let's
Shit in his mouth.
Shit in his mouth.
No.
That's right.
Okay.
And then he'll be grateful for anything you do other than shit in his mouth. No. So I would say the most important things are like, how are you feeling? How's he feeling? And are you able to communicate with said penis and the human life support system attached to that penis beforehand?
Mhm.
So the things I like to tell people are, don't be too drunk, don't be too full. Because both of those things are not good if you're going to be shoving something down the back of your throat.
I've had 2 guy friends get their dicks puked on.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it happens.
Oh, it totally happens because you're either drunk or too full. Like, don't go eat a huge sushi dinner. And then,
oh, God, gross.
And then go for it. So yeah, being a little bit hungry is kind of good. And definitely not too drunk. And part of that is just like with sex and with intimacy in general, you don't want to be too drunk. Like that just comes down to your ability to communicate with other people and to be aware and connecting and stuff like that.
Which reminds me of the most important thing I just glossed over first, which is I think it's always great to just ask people what they like too. Like, some people might say like, yeah, give me a little teeth,
Yeah.
And
for sure. Some people don't mind a little teeth.
Yeah. And they might say like, go into the, third knuckle if you can. Like,
totally.
Get in there.
Everybody's different. So as much as you can, try to listen to your partner and what they verbalize. Of course, listen to that, but then and also the nonverbal stuff. So you can watch their breathing, you can watch their body, you can listen as you do things, as you test things. and just pay attention to it and respond appropriately. And it's okay the first few times with someone to kind of experiment, and it may not be the best they've ever had, but you're learning. Like you're
Mhm.
kind of body mapping them in a way in this really specific thing.
Yeah.
Some other things are, like you said, using your hand, because the lower part of the shaft is more pressure sensitive and not as much friction sensitive, whereas the top portion is more friction.
Right. So you don't need to stub your uvula,
Yeah, you don't have to. I'm sure it's nice if you do,
Mhm.
but it's perfectly acceptable to use your
Yeah,
hand
you don't
there.
have to be a sword swallower to give a good BJ.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think, of course,
Oh.
it goes without saying, but like,
Yeah.
yeah. See, good. Yeah,
Yep.
asking feedback from your partner. Different people like different stuff. Asking for, I always like to just tell people, like, I love feedback. I like to know what feels good, what doesn't feel good. Give constructive criticism.
Yeah.
And yeah, don't say like, you suck at this sucking. It's just confusing.
Yeah.
Let's see. It says,
I'm sure your partner will like what you are willing to do anyway if he's not an asshole.
that's what a
That's
caller
true.
came in and said. Or
Same for, yes. And this is definitely something that I was going to bring up, is that, being someone who's been with men and women, I have noticed that men are usually more likely to ask for what they want, and that women sometimes shoot themselves in the foot or the labia when they pretend to like things that they don't like. And so
Right.
you can, as their partner, you can wind up banging your head against that same wall for a long time. And so you have to be willing to say, oh, I like this, I don't like that, do this.
Right.
Or just like, just like a guy does sometimes. Some people, some guys, some, testosterone based humans, will put your face where they want it, so it's like, don't be afraid to do all those things based on who you're with.
You
So,
could be really doing someone a favor too, because I think
Yeah.
in this, well, probably in a lot of cultures, us gals were raised to think like, oh, take care of a man, take care of a man's ego, protect him from his fragile ego.
Yes.
But we're also not taught another truth, which is that I think a lot of men, they want to succeed. So giving them
Yeah.
the information that they need to succeed, they want to give you
For
pleasure. They're not
sure.
going down there to floss their teeth with your pubic hair. They're going there to, like, hopefully give you erotic pleasure.
Yeah.
So, help them out.
Yeah.
Throw them a boner.
Always. Yeah. A partner who wants to please you and that you want to please, that sort of communication is great. And whether it's verbal or nonverbal is fantastic. And as long as you're like tuned into each other and open to giving each other feedback, everything gets better, smoother.
Yeah. And something that comes to my mind too, no pun intended, is that the one of the basic rules of improv is yes and.
Yeah.
Because it's a way to open things up instead of shut things down. So
Yes.
if you're like, I don't like that, that's a boner killer for most people. But
Yeah.
if you're like, if you think of what you'd rather have them do,
Mhm.
that opens things up.
That's right.
Yeah. So
it's
it's
expanding instead of contracting.
think of where the yes is, or where the yes could be, and say, like, I want you to do this, or,
Yeah.
like, this would feel great,
Yeah.
Think about the parts that do feel good and expand on that.
Yeah. Totally.
Mhm.
I love the person for saying that. And then, and the beautiful thing was, so I actually answered this question offline
Mhm.
first, and received the feedback a few days
Oh,
later.
how did it go?
That it went really well, and she was very happy.
Oh boy, and
Yeah.
so were they. So
Yeah,
was
I'm sure everybody was really happy.
Yay.
So it made her feel really good. It made her
Yeah.
partner feel good, obviously. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
That's great.
great. Yeah.
Yeah,
It was really
yay!
wonderful.
Way to give good BJ advice.
Woo!
Nice. Woo! Yay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it goes without saying too, if you don't want to touch someone's butthole, don't do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the prostate is definitely something where I feel like it's a mixed bag. Some people really love having it touched. some people maybe haven't had a good experience of having it touched. And so maybe they're like, I'm not sure, but maybe not today, maybe some other day. And then other people love it and they know it. So it's kind of all over the place. It's a great thing to talk about early on.
Yeah. And some people are shy about like the whole, oh no, poop. I mean, you can always, like, if you want to experiment with like butt play, you can always do enemas first. That can take away from like, poop stink shame. But also, like, I remember one of the pleasure parties that I went to where they call them like fuckerware parties. Thanks. It's where a bunch of people get together and they sell all these sex toys. It's sort of like a Tupperware party, one of those what do you call them? Market pyramid scheme.
Totally,
companies. Oops, I said scheme. But anyway,
pyramid selling structure.
Exactly. Well said.
Totally legit.
I ended up getting, they even have like these silver bullets that you can put up your ass, that vibrate and stuff. And so if someone wants to experiment with that and getting into prostate town for taking BJ to the next level, there's always that. I mean, I imagine that's one of the purposes of butt plugs too, is to get a little prostate pressure going on there.
I think so.
Other than preventing explosive diarrhea, I guess that's maybe one of the other potential purposes.
God, I would think it would release it.
Right.
But and the other thing about the prostate is, I don't care how big you've seen your partner shit. Start small. Don't go thinking like, oh, well, he put his pee-pee in my butthole, so now I'm going to take this full like 7.5-inch dong and shove it in his. Like, that's not gonna, like, it's better to start small, to not shock someone initially, and they might decide like, oh yeah, I'm ready for the next size up or something like that. But don't just kind of go for the big dick because you think, oh, he's a big guy, he's probably got a big butthole. Yeah,
or do like I did, go for a hot tub and 3 whiskeys first. That'll loosen him up. Really? You want all of it? Okay.
What did that hot tub look like the next day?
Oh yeah, you don't want to know. Poop soup.
Corn and peanuts.
I know, exactly. Corn chowder, anyone?
Oh God.
No, remember the peanut butter soup Mom used to make when we were kids?
Oh God, yes. The stuff that you got like molten
sprayed
lava on your face.
Yeah. Oh, owie. Burn my little tits off.
Okay. So get to the next question.
Okay, get to the next question.
Okay, so the next question is
this where we get serious?
We're gonna get kind of serious, but don't worry, we're not gonna get too serial because
we're
not that way. God, my hair is just really pissing me off today. Okay, anyway,
it's pissing me off too. Let's shave it.
No, let's just shave the
take
front
this show
where
to the
my
next
bangs
level.
are.
Oh, it looks great.
That would look really good, right?
I'll be your stylist as we sit here.
Can we fix it? Yeah,
I'll play with your
straight.
bangs.
I've got like some Kevin Bacon hair happening.
Yeah,
here.
it's all that
going
bacon
on?
grease.
Thanks.
Don't use bacon grease. No, to fix your hair.
Okay, so this question is from a person who is kind of a solo poly person, and their partner is married. And they're saying that they don't like their metamor, which would be their partner's wife or husband. And it's affecting their relationship. And they're upset about couples privilege. And so what do you do when an external relationship starts affecting you a lot? So basically, when your partner's other relationships start affecting you, isn't leaving a way of pressuring the breakup of the other relationship? And so they're saying like, oh, should I vote with my feet, essentially?
Yeah.
And I think this is a really tricky question because, of course, your partner's other relationships are going to affect you on some level, whether it's, their preference to have your partner on, every Saturday night or something, which is your favorite night of the week and you'd rather be with them or whatever.
Yeah.
But it could also be, it could be anything about their relationship feels threatening or not good to you. And I would say, rather than just leaving and expecting that to have some impact on their relationship, ask for what you want in the most plain and simple terms. And it really doesn't matter if it sounds reasonable or not. What you want is what you want. And that's really it. Like, you're allowed to want whatever you want.
Hey, what about me? What am I, chopped liver? Chris is VZT. You're in big trouble.
Come on.
Sit and spin. No, just kidding. But sorry, someone just commented in and told Shar she looked gorgeous. But yeah, the other thing, and then you're like, oh, my hair's sticking up in the back.
God, the back of my hair. I need to just not even look at the monitor.
I know. I've trained myself to just look at you. So the thing I'm wondering about is like this comment for me doesn't have enough information because it's what I'm curious about is what is bothering this person about the other relationship. To me, that seems like an important question, sort of like, is it because are they in contact? Is the metamor in contact with the primary partner? Because
I don't get that feeling.
Because if that's part of the problem, if they don't like the primary partner, and correct my verbiage if I'm not saying it right, but if they simply don't like them and they're being subjected to being around them, then of course they have the, oh, thanks, I look tight. Yeah, how can you see my vagina from there? God, that's weird. But so
your vagina looks tight.
It does. Oh, you can't break this clam open. Yeah.
It squeaks when you walk.
Even your nutcracker's not going to work to get this pearl. Anyway, so yeah, that's my question is like, are they subjected to the primary partner? Because one of the most awesome and yet challenging things about doing everything beyond monogamy is that we get to decide for ourselves exactly how we want to do relationship. And so I'm a big fan of try everything and put all the information out there before you walk away. Because who knows, maybe you're just scared to say what you want and need. And I think a lot of that comes down to worth, like if you do have issues of worthlessness. Oh, Chris, just stop. Chris is now just chiming in over and over again. Actually, keep going, Chris. I like what you're saying.
Don't stop.
Yeah.
Don't stop.
But don't stop. Shwing.
Don't stop.
But then, then the other part of it is that, self-worth can keep us from actually expressing what our needs are. And all of this is life and learning. So advocate for yourself, advocate and give them the information they need to love you like you want to be loved before you leave. Because you're going to come up against this problem again and again if you're not expressing yourself and advocating for what you want and need.
Yeah. And I think too, in this case, it could just be that you, maybe it's a good question to ask yourself, are you okay if your partner has like a number one sort of primary partner? And would you rather not, have someone or be in a relationship with someone who's married? Like, is that the issue? Is it that you feel deprioritized because this person's married and marriage usually means that it's going to be hierarchical in some way.
Like, like this person might have gotten into the relationship with one attitude, they're in one place in their life, and then they find themselves in the relationship and discovering through this process that they'd rather be the primary. And, that's an unfortunate way of discovering this about yourself.
Sure is.
But I mean, that is life. Again, like as I contemplate just reading all these questions today, it just brings up so much about human attachment.
Oh my God.
And that, again, like we've all been brainwashed by all those romantic fairy tales that started 400 years ago in Venice, Italy, when people, lived at longest to about 40 years old.
Yeah.
And most kids, half of all children didn't make it to 16 years old.
Yeah.
And so, but we still have that fairy tale in our head. And the truth is that we are the canaries in the mine shaft now.
Yeah.
And we are all engaged in figuring out together collectively, how do you do beyond monogamy? And it's these conversations, keeping these conversations up and in the open and transparent and keeping them idealistically like loving. And to me, a huge part of it is learning nonviolent communication skills. If everyone out there just watched a video about nonviolent communication skills, just invest that much of your life to realize what the typical pitfalls that we've all been, brainwashed to communicate in these ways. The things that create war and conflict versus loving, open, supportive communication,
Mhm.
we're also capable, and it's all right there at our fingertips.
Mhm.
So, investing a little time in some non-violent communication.
That's right.
My hands went into this, but
That's right.
doesn't this mean shove it up your ass in Italian?
I think
The
it's
little fisting.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
don't know.
They're really
Something
into
about
fisting in Italy. It's part of the romantic fairy tale they left out for the kids. And they all lived happily ever after, fisting into the sunset together. Yes. They put the
Fisting
whore
into
in
the
horizon
sunset
as they went off together.
Oh my god.
Yes.
Yeah. That
Yeah.
and I think you and I are definitely saying the same thing, which is to ask for what you want and do it
Yes.
in a neutral, nonviolent way. Just
Yeah.
say, I would really love it if I could get blah 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 from you.
Yeah.
And you don't say, because what I'm not getting right now is this, and I see you giving this to your wife, and da da da.
She this and you that.
Don't do that whole thing.
Yeah.
Don't get into it. Don't try and place blame. It's okay to just ask for what you want.
Mm-hmm.
Just say, I'd really love this.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that you might be able to do this for me?
Totally. And something that I think has been coming up again and again, even in these questions, and I think is a huge thing that people have to take on when they're doing beyond monogamy, is again another way that we're canaries in the mine shaft is figuring out how to deal with jealousy. Because in a monogamous structure, I think that's one of the non-written agreements we go into in monogamy is like, we don't say it out loud, but what we're really saying is like, okay, now I'm going to protect you from the truth that I'm ever attracted to other people. I'm going to pretend that I'm not, and we were not going to talk about that.
Yeah.
And you protect me in the same way, where that as if you're not attracted to other people, but it happens, it comes up, and we know that we're attracted to other people, and so there is jealousy in monogamous relationships.
Yeah,
and in non-monogamous relationships, you're just kind of like dealing with it head on.
Yeah.
And it's brave, and it is a virtuous mission. So,
and it's not deadly.
Kudos to all of you.
Jealousy is not deadly.
Yeah.
It sucks. It's hard. It makes you go to the deep, dark recesses of your mind and your insecurities. And you usually come out of the other side going, hey, I did that.
Yeah.
Instead
of avoid it.
Yeah. And it's kind of like turning around and facing the dog that's chasing you.
Yeah.
It's just usually that dog's going to back down, and usually you're going to be able to resolve your jealousy, or at least get to a place where you're accepting of it and just going like, meh, it's okay.
Yeah, exactly.
And then you can remind yourself of all the awesomeness that you have that maybe your partner should be jealous of too. You can be like, yeah. Just remind yourself though. Don't say it out loud to them, because that'd be super dicky.
Well, this ties into another one of the questions.
Oh yeah,
that I think we're leading into the which one was it? This one.
Oh, comparing?
Yeah, this one.
Oh, that was a really hard one for me. Do you want to read it, or you want me to read it?
You read it. Read it.
So it's someone who's struggling comparing themselves with their husband's girlfriend. They feel like they're really different. The girlfriend always looks beautiful, hair and makeup done. She's very put together. Her outward appearance is pretty much flawless, they say. And she also is successful and seems to have her shit together. So that's also kind of like, they're both parents, and so that can be something that is super that can be really challenging in non-monogamous relationships, is comparing yourself even on the level of a parent, oh my god, they're even a better parent than me too.
Oh, the other person was a parent? I didn't get that.
Yeah, they both are.
Oh,
yeah,
both are parents. Okay.
And so I think that this person was doing okay with the perfect girlfriend until they got into a fight with her husband. And the husband implied that this person should take out the trash more often, and the house always looks like a mess. And so she felt like that this was her husband comparing her to the girlfriend who's perfect, whose trash is probably out all the time. And I'd like to say the girlfriend might have a spouse or another person or one of their kids who takes their trash out for them. Like I wouldn't,
Right.
I wouldn't
Or a house
assume that
cleaner. I
there's,
mean, who knows, you know?
yeah, they might have all that stuff. So feeling inferior to a metamor, like
Yeah.
basically comparing yourself to one of your partner's partners. And I so get this is a really hard thing to not do,
Right.
but it's so important to not do it because
it's related to jealousy too.
it
has
is, yeah.
Because jealousy is that whole like, oh my God, what if this person's better than me
Yeah.
and my partner prefers them and then they leave me for this person.
Right.
Comparing ourselves goes hand in hand with jealousy a lot of the time.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. Yeah. And so I think, that's that. But one of the great things about polyamory and ethical non-monogamy are that this isn't an either or situation, and it's not a contest. It is your partner loves you for you and them for them. And there might be
Right.
certain characteristics about that person that
Mhm.
aren't perfect either. And so, it isn't they're going to choose one of you over the other. Like
Mhm.
they might on a day, but
Mhm.
it's not going to be an overall trend. So that, I mean, I think that's kind of one of the great things about ethical non-monogamy is that you don't have to choose. You can just take people as they come to you and you can say, yes, you are not the perfect housewife. And I
Mhm.
love you anyway.
Yeah, right,
And
exactly.
I love so many things about you, but you're not a perfect housewife.
Right,
And
right.
it makes space for people to just be who they are
Yeah.
and come how they are. And just like, you don't have to pick one
Yeah.
person over another.
Yeah. And the other thing I heard, I mean, a couple of things that came to my mind. One, of course, was like, oh God, relationship therapy. Not to say that in a way that
Yes.
sounds like it's pathologizing in some way, like you guys are
Mhm.
fucked up and you need therapy. I think
Yeah.
that therapy is a wonderful gift to give
Totally.
yourselves, and it's a wonderful way of investing in your relationship because
Mhm.
relating is a fundamental part of the word relationship.
Yeah.
Relating, and so that I think would be a very loving gift to give your relationship. And the other thing that
Mhm.
came to my mind too about attachment theory is that the thing I was picking up on when I was reading this question is that it sounds to me like this person could really use some reassurance, and that's a
Yeah.
really wonderful,
Mhm.
beautiful, vulnerable thing to tell your partner. It's just
Yeah.
to be transparent in a non-accusatory way and just saying, like, use your I words, like when you describe the behavior I feel,
Mhm.
and what I want is. And that can
Mhm.
be really hard for people that fall under the anxious attachment style, especially if you're
Yeah.
insecure anxious like I am.
Yeah.
That relates to self-worth,
Yeah.
because if you struggle with your self-worth, then it's very hard to advocate for what you want to hear. You
Mhm.
want to hear someone say like, oh, it doesn't matter if you're uh, like not as good a housekeeper. Because the other thing so I'm squirreling on myself, but the other thing that comes to mind is just that role that women get thrust into
Mhm.
of needing to do more of the housework and such.
Yeah.
And that's the question that came to my mind as well, is like, is this just I don't mean to say just, diminishing word, but
I diminish your
is this
feelings.
I'm trying to think of what's the modern term for fucking housewife? God damn it.
Yeah, like
Home
typical
worker? I don't know.
yeah,
Home builder? I don't fucking know.
spouse, stay-at-home spouse, I don't know.
Stay-at-home goddess.
I don't know.
Whatever.
I'm gonna say it
We're
wrong.
gonna get hate mail. Yeah.
Oh, hate
But
us now. Okay.
but yeah, that essentially that work in modern eyes should be, at least talked about, but
Mhm.
not assumed to be the woman's anyway.
Yeah.
And so I would support whoever said that to examine that as well,
Mhm.
and assuming that should be something that they're doing. This other person who lives by themselves, well, pardon me, seltzer belch. Bleh. They also might not have that not having a live-in spouse might leave them more time to clean the house and things because you're not tending to the spouse as much.
I
And
know
so,
something about that.
yeah. And so
Sometimes life gets so much easier, doesn't it?
yeah, right. And so that person doesn't ever get seen with curlers in their hair and primping and things like that, where you're spending your time, probably giving more attention to your spouse, so you have less time for yourself.
Yeah.
And I think that if you're feeling anxious and insecure about that, it's worth being vulnerable about and give them the opportunity to come forward and express what they do appreciate about you. That they do appreciate the amount of time and attention. I think it's okay to give leading questions too. I'm wondering if you appreciate how much my time goes towards you, and I want to hear you say that. I think that's all fair.
Yeah, and I think it's also fair to say I'm feeling insecure because right now I'm, comparing myself to your girlfriend, and she really seems to have it together, and I'm feeling like I'm not doing as good of a job, and so I'm just feeling really insecure, and I'm kind of judging myself harshly, and
scared you're judging me too.
Yeah, I'm projecting my fears onto our fight this morning, and I was afraid that maybe you were judging me by the standards of her, and so now I'm feeling really, really insecure. Is there anything that you can tell me that that could be helpful?
Yeah.
Just ask for help. Like,
yeah,
it's okay.
Right.
I am the worst at doing it.
Yeah.
But I'll always say to do it.
Yeah.
And then I won't fucking do it for myself. But do what I don't do, but do what I say.
Yeah. It's the preacher heal thyself thing,
Yeah.
We teach best what we most need to learn. I go back to fisting.
Oh, the
Yes,
fisting
you need
again.
to learn to fist.
We must learn to
Yes.
fist.
Pew, 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 pew. Yeah.
Pew, pew, pew.
Pew, pew.
Pew.
Yeah. So
okay.
that was, I think that there was a lot there. But yeah, I think that one of the most important things is, how do you learn to appreciate yourself and not compare yourself to others? It's a form of self-abuse that a lot of us engage in on a regular basis.
I read an entire book based on this.
Oh, what was it called?
It was called Compassion and Self-Hate, I believe. Not the best title.
Yeah.
Great book though.
Yeah.
And the if I could just nutshell this book,
Nutsack
it is that
put it in a nutsack, Char.
It is that anytime you are not in core acceptance of who you are, warts and all, you're committing an act of self-loathing. And that you, even if you're self-aggrandizing, that is a form of self-loathing because you are not accepting who you are.
Gotcha.
Stories in our heads are so far from reality. That's so true. Yeah, we frequently tell ourselves these narratives that are so far off. Like you'll project something onto other people, like, oh, he probably thinks this about me and that about me, and it's like totally not what they're doing or thinking, and
right.
it's just your insecurities coming out.
Yeah.
Anyway, this book about compassion, and pretty sure it's called Compassion and Self-Hate. Anyway, it really is just that.
I'm going to look it up because, one of my pieces of advice to almost every one of these questions is that I junk on all this stuff, psychology and relationship, blah, blah, blah. And I used to recommend the books that I was reading to people. And then 9 out of 10 times they wouldn't read the book. And then I had this brilliant concept to send people to YouTube and look up the author's name. And that a lot of the time while people are writing their books and developing these theories, or while they're pitching the books, they'll give these wonderful 15-minute synopses of the book or what their perspective is.
Yeah.
And then, God, I'm so belchy, gassy bitch.
What is wrong with you?
But you can basically get the Matrix download, in like 15 minutes or an hour even. Because a lot of these books I listen to are like between 5 and 13 hours. I get it. Not everyone's as OCD as I am about this shit. And so
I'm right there with you.
Yeah. So looking like whatever this book is called,
it's called Compassion and Self-Hate, an alternative to despair.
Yeah.
So it sounds pretty dramatic. It's not that dramatic. I certainly would not say that I hate myself or have really ever hated myself,
Yeah.
but reading this book was really helpful.
Yeah.
And it's by Theodore Isaac Rubin. But
Theodore
yeah,
Isaac
maybe try
Rubin.
looking up, just some, I don't know, Cliff's Notes on YouTube or something like that.
Yeah.
I think that just the whole idea of it is pretty radical, that you just, if you're not accepting yourself, you're hating,
Yeah.
you're hating the fundamental core of yourself, which
Right.
is pretty
And
true.
we aren't taught how to celebrate ourselves. Like
Yeah.
as I am like a self-help junkie, I was thinking recently about when are we done? We're never done, right? So you have to take breaks and
Yeah.
celebrate how much you've done, how much you've
Yeah.
grown, and who you've become.
Yeah.
So making a success log, writing down the things that you like about yourself,
Yeah.
no matter what they are. So now, yes. Oh, yes.
Damn.
Oh my God. Go Unabomber.
Damn, my titties is fine.
They is some time fitties. You got some time fitties, Shar. That's why they call you Tits McGee down at the
Titties,
Sanctuary
that's
Club.
right. That's why I'm Tits
Yeah.
McGee.
All right. So what thing do you want to go to next?
Oh, okay. So the next question is from a friend.
From a friend in quotes.
Friend. So how is determining your primary partner if you are a polyamorous person?
Mm-hmm.
Or solo poly, or kind of thinking about like, oh, let's say I'm solo poly, but I'm thinking, oh, I might want a nesting partner. So
Mm-hmm.
how is that different from someone who's only been in monogamous relationships? How is that different from finding a monogamous partner? So basically finding a primary partner versus finding your monogamous partner.
Yeah.
And I have to say that whatever I say is going to be total speculation,
Mm-hmm.
because I have been monogamous in the past. I haven't been, well, yeah, I kind of do have primary partners. I suppose I'm sort of hierarchical now. But it is really different, because I feel like in the past when I was looking for kind of a partner to do monogamy with,
Mm-hmm.
to engage in the act of monogamy. I think in those cases, I really had like this checklist of, I need you to be this and this and this and this. And it was totally varied. And then, of course, I would totally put on the blinders and ignore anything that was like actually should have been a red flag, because I'm like, oh, well, you're checking boxes and I'm wanting to become monogamous with a person. And
Yeah.
whereas with finding a kind of a primary partner or primary partners, or a polycule, or, just nesting partners, I think is different, because you're really looking at, okay, what are my most important things, the most important attributes that I find in a person that are a really like a safe haven for me to kind of operate from, that make me feel secure and grounded and safe.
Mm-hmm.
And then they don't always have to be like the person that you're going to go mountain biking with or something like that. Like maybe if you were looking for my person I'm going to be monogamous with has to be a mountain biker too, because I'm a mountain biker. It's like, no, actually, you can find a person who you have this really great squishy connection. I keep saying person, but it could be people, whatever.
Yeah.
And you can find this really wonderful place to sort of operate from, where you feel supported and you feel like you can support them and you all act in support of each other. And of course, it's hot and romantic and all that great stuff too. But you don't have to have a complete overlap, and you do get to kind of go outside of the relationship for other desires or needs or whatever. My phone's going crazy.
I thought that was a challenging question.
Yeah.
Because it's a heady question.
Yeah, for sure.
Like, not to be judgmental, But it's basically there was a part of me that the first thing that came to my mind is, well, it's fuck of a lot easier finding like someone who's going to be your monogamous partner, because there's a lot more opportunity out there. Finding someone that meets this very specific role that this person idealizes is going to be a lot more challenging. Because you're going to have to, again, the demographic of your dating pool of what's available to you is much smaller. And that, you might just have to, like, when you're subjecting yourself, or, that's a terrible way of putting it, when you're diving into such a sort of unconventional way of doing relationship, you're really, I think that there's, it's almost like an acceptance one has to have that now you're dealing with a bunch of really open-minded, independent thinking, unconventional, creative people as well. And so finding your, last unicorn, or that unicorn. I know unicorn's a specific term that I don't mean to use. I mean it more in the metaphorical sense of like, this mystical being that's very rare. Finding that person that's going to be exactly, what you want in those ways is probably going to be more challenging. And that I think we all have to be very open-minded to what we are co-creating with people. You're getting yourself involved with other people. You might decide that, that the person who fits that bill closest isn't going to like meet all of those needs, but maybe it's going to be close enough for you that you can kind of, sacrifice some elements of that ideal. You might find the perfect thing, that's exactly that. True. Anything happens. But it's just challenging question because it is sort of hypothetical.
And it's up to you to decide what your most important attributes are in a nesting partner or primary partner. Like if it's a nesting partner you're going for, like someone you're going to live with, maybe it's how they load the dishwasher. Like really, it could be whatever you want it to be, whatever your priorities are. So obviously for me, I sort of gave it away like, oh, for me, if I were to have a nesting partner, it would be like, I would want this person to be a safe haven. Like I would have this really squishy relationship with them. And then, sure, we could go out and cause mischief together and or, do other things, but like that would be like my primary thing. But for other people, their number one thing that they're looking for could be totally different. It could be, I need someone who's super exciting, who's going to like pounce on me from behind the bathroom door and scare the shit out of me every day. Like, who knows what everybody wants. So it's just
you want
like,
to date our dad then, basically.
Fuck no.
That's what our dad did. It's like I think it's good for all of us to get in touch with what our values and priorities are, so that we can, when we're dating, contrast and compare and see and give other people the information they need so that we can co-create something together, and to just be upfront about the pieces, parts you're not interested in or you can't or won't do, and see if you can co-create something that, feels good anyway, or if if the things on your list are like, do not pass, I have to have these, then so transparency in the end wins for this conversation.
And know yourself. Like try to know yourself as much as you can, including what your Achilles tendon is and what do you fall for that's maybe not good for you, or what have you fallen for in the past that's not great for you that maybe you would like to not do this time. And, try to scale that down in the grand scheme of your relationships. Maybe you're attracted to people.
Narcissists.
Yeah, narcissists. So, maybe every once in a while you want a little narcissist for dessert. But try and scale it back. Just
keep them in the periphery of your circles of,
just try to do a little less narcissist, just
dip a pinky toe in their taint from time to time.
And be like, ooh, that was so exciting. And it sucked ass. And I don't feel important right now. And, I love the gaslighting.
Oh, that's my favorite.
Gaslighting's the best.
Gaslight me, baby. I
kind of want to get to this last one.
Okay, try it.
It's not the last one, but it's like one of the last ones. How do you break up with someone like a healthy adult?
Ooh, I have a book recommendation. I have a book
Yeah.
recommendation
Okay.
because, like, if someone actually wants a step by step,
Yeah.
there's a really great book that's called Conscious Uncoupling,
Ooh,
and
I think I've heard
it
of
is
this.
wonderful, and it is a wonderful topic to put a lot of energy into. If you care about not increasing the wounds of this person that you're
Mhm.
involved with. It's like we're a part of a culture that is all about bonding and
Mm-hmm.
attachment. And yet here we are in this autonomous society. And then what do? We find someone to monogamously couple with. And when we just, project all of our needs that the tribe is supposed to fulfill onto this one person. And then, we end up being serial monogamous in this culture, and we end up, investing everything in one person and breaking up over and over again.
Yeah.
Oh, it is such a painful process.
Yeah.
And so putting a lot of conscious intention and self-education into conscious uncoupling
Mhm.
is, I think, a beautiful gift to give to our fellow humans.
Yeah.
That way you're, not increasing their fears of abandonment,
Mhm.
the wounds of, most people have some sort of core shame about being unlovable. And if
Yeah.
you can bring your loving attention to beginning to create a really conscious, loving, calm, gentle conversation, a dialogue,
Mhm.
instead of just dropping the bomb. A lot of
Mhm.
us hold back the information we're beginning to feel along the way. We
Mhm.
avoid
Yeah.
communicating, we avoid confronting, we avoid uncomfortable moments, difficult moments. So Chris is commenting again.
Yeah.
He said,
I've done a lot of mistakes since I started ethical non-monogamy, and from those, I discovered that I'm slowly avoiding the relationship escalator. Do you think this is a normal progression? Yeah.
yeah. So when he's talking
Yeah.
about the relationship escalator, for those who might not be in touch with
Yeah.
what that is, there's sort of like, in relationships that don't question, the
Yeah.
form of relationships a lot,
Yeah.
there is an unspoken sort of assumption that most people make when they start becoming intimate together,
Yeah.
wherein once you've, slept together and you see each other more, then everyone expects to be able to increase in your intimacy and your
Yeah.
contact. And then that usually leads to, in the monogamous form, more interdependency,
Yeah.
domestication together,
Yeah. Getting a
and
dog, having kids.
yeah, exactly, all of that, marriage, kids, or dogs, or and then maybe retiring, and then dying together, all that kind of stuff. Yeah, and so his question was, is that
It was kind
normal?
of a comment. Yeah. Well, a comment and a question that's been his experience, but
Yeah.
I think
Is
also,
it? And I think his question was, what was it, Michael? Was
Is
it like,
that-
is it normal to kind of avoid that when you're
or to get better at it.
okay?
Okay. Yeah.
That's what she said. Michael said it'll come up in a second.
Okay.
That's what he said. Ba-dunk-gunks.
Yeah. Oh, do you think that's a normal progression? Yeah. I think it is for sure. And I
Well-
think especially the first times you sort of live through new relationship energy, like there is in new relationship energy, there's this deep desire to like kind of jump on the escalator and be like, I want to spend every waking moment with you. And I think as you continue through ethical non-monogamy and kind of have more relationships, it is more common for that new relationship energy to not sort of like carry you up the escalator as far and as fast.
Yeah. Better to question it, even though the
Yeah.
impulse is like, you more all the time. Let's move in. Come on.
Totally.
Yeah. And that it's, again, transparency and having conversations about it is
Yeah.
my, fallback to every question.
Totally.
Is talking about it with people, saying like, hey, this is what I understand our human tendency is, and I want to be really aware of it, so that we're co-creating something that works for you and me.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can tell having a relationship with me is kind of a heady endeavor. Enough with the talking.
And meanwhile, I'm like over here with a band. Oh, no, I do. I do have done a lot of behavior reinforcement, cognitive behavioral therapy as well.
Yeah.
And so when I do find myself being like getting into a space where I'm like thinking about something too much, I'll just be like, stop it, snap, stop it, snap, redirect.
Yeah,
So
right.
it's like, and actually this happens to just be on my wrist because I had my hair up earlier, but this is a great tool. Like, when I had some new relationship energy earlier, a few months ago or whatever. I was like, had this rubber band on my wrist, and I was like, stop it.
Yeah.
Stop. Bad dog. Bad.
Yeah.
Click.
Yeah.
Click.
Yeah. Yeah. It could be good too. Like, redirecting your mind to what,
Mhm.
it's almost like, what do you call it? Biofeedback,
Mhm.
coming
Exactly.
into, we're such dopamine junkies. I mean, humans in general are just
Oh, God,
fucking,
yeah.
positive hormone junkies. We're
Mhm.
always looking for, more of the good feeling, more of the good
Yeah.
feeling. And more and more, I'm hearing about doing dopamine diets, dopamine flushes, where you actually,
Dopamine
every
fasting.
time we are gravitating towards things that give us, it's dopamine hits and things like that. We just end up throwing ourselves out of homeostasis. For every
Yeah.
dopamine high, you have a dopamine drop. And then you don't want to feel the
sucks.
dopamine drop. So you go for the next dopamine high and the next, and the next, and the next.
Yeah.
And, occasionally just coming into the present moment instead of looking things from the outside in that make us feel good. That's one of the
Mhm.
ways we disempower ourselves,
Yeah.
because ultimately the homeostasis, that nice balanced place inside, that's what your body really wants. But we
Mhm.
just found a way as humans to fuck with it. And
We
it feels
love
good.
dopamine.
Yeah, we love dopamine. We're dope addicts
Putting
for
my
dopamine.
glasses back on for
Yeah,
the
do it.
dopamine.
Yeah, free dope. You're
I
into
love
dope.
dopamine
Yeah.
and oxytocin.
Yeah, so put another
my
dime in your
jam.
slut slot, baby. Yeah.
I love dopamine.
Come on, baby, take a ride with me, or something like that. Yeah.
Ow. Yeah.
Oh, what a
These are
heady
my-
show. We're
this
so
is-
heady
These
today.
are Zoe's, by the way.
They're
These are Zoe's
awesome. I
glasses. Aren't
love
they
her little
amazing?
bummer
I know.
glasses.
If anyone wants to do any police officer role playing later,
Yeah.
I'll have
Yeah.
these with me.
So that oh God, we just have a few minutes. Yeah, that breakup question.
Oh yeah. Let's get back to that.
Yeah, I do think I highly recommend the watching oh God, I forget the name of Catherine Woodward is the author of Conscious Uncoupling. And again, just like if you don't have 8 to 12 hours, go to YouTube and bring up a video of Catherine Woodward's, and she'll just put it in a little nutsack for you. And who wouldn't rather have it in a little nutsack?
I love a little nutsack.
Yeah, me too. And it is, again, it's so worth all humans' time to invest in the art of breaking up with someone, so that you can, maybe you can maintain friendship, maybe not, but learning how to create a ceremony around it, learning how to be grateful for the good times. Don't just like cut and run, and be able to hold the space for someone else's, pain, as long as they're not being abusive, like make room for expecting other people's disappointment and things like that. And so,
Thanks.
yeah, thanks, Chris. He's our biggest fan, commenting all the time. So
I think that's definitely worth doing, because even if you're really angry with the person, because sometimes we have to get angry to be able to move on. Sometimes we have to do you're the other and I am good and you are bad.
Oh, yes.
We have to do that, but it's still worth it to It's still worth it to I just got a call from someone I haven't seen for a long time. It's worth it to take the time to do it, because at some point in the future, you're going to realize that they were not the devil, and that, you were upset with them, that you guys were at odds over this, but that you didn't really want to hurt them.
Yes. Oh, and I wanted to add to that, because in human attachment theory, one of the things that people do is we use judgment as a way of justifying our detachment from someone. And that's, I think, a lot of the reason why we go to war at the end, is because we go into our primal panic of like, oh my God, you're my everything. So instead of like being abandoned, we oftentimes go to war, because any attention, any attachment, any interaction is better than none. And so if we can find a way to keep from going to war, so that we can kind of maintain, if there's any way to maintain healthy attachment, even if you need to take a break for a while to sort of like not be so attached, but intend to get emotionally detached in a healthy, intentional way.
Yes.
Instead of using that destructive go-to, just focusing on all their bad things, their bad characteristics as a way of emotionally detaching. That's us trying to, I think, shortcut having to feel our grief and, the truth of the parts of them that we are going to miss. Circumvent going through grief at all, or expedite it in some way.
It'll catch up with you eventually,
Expedite.
though.
Yeah, exactly.
You will feel the grief at some point. You may not feel it right away because maybe the anger is going to buffer that for some period of time, but you are going to feel the grief at some point.
Yeah, the only way out is through.
Yeah.
Like a flowering fist. Yeah. I just had to end it with the fist. Yeah, today's word is fist. Fisting. Brought to you by the letters F-I-S-T. Yeah, we did it. Oh my God.
We did it.
We got through a serious show.
We did it.
And we still interjected fisting.
I feel like we owe that to people after the disgusting show last week.
Oh my God, I
feel
know.
like we owed them a little.
I think that we were disowned by some family members last week. And, a couple of people that know me and love me were like, I had to turn that show off.
Really?
You bitches are sick. That's fucked up. Okay, so as it's 6 o'clock. What are you doing? So again, Char's paying for every fucking show. So if you appreciate the show and it's worth even $1 a month to help with the lighting and the camera work and paying the producer and and helping to support her kids, that she's single mothering, then support us on Patreon. Was that an orgy on Patreon? And
and write in, was that an orgy at gmail.com. And
like and subscribe on the use of the tubes.
Yes, like and subscribe,
helps
please.
Get us closer to maybe making ad money one day.
Yeah, and
that'd
I don't know
super great.
if you subscribe on Spotify, like if that helps us, sure, do it.
I think it all
probably
helps.
does. It all
positive
helps.
comments, positive ratings. It helps us all get to where instead of this financially breaking Char, it could lead to financially supporting first Char and the debt that she's created through this, and all of us, and the show and everybody,
all the Bawds.
I know,
all the body gals,
all the body gals, all the body gals. It's
all
your
the
birthday.
body gals,
yeah,
all the body gals.
Yeah.
Yeah,
yay!
We did it.
Thanks for tuning into our tuna once again.
We made it to it.
And we will see you next Tuesday.
What are you gonna do with this eager beaver baby of mine? I'm always there beside you, no matter where you stop. I'll follow you to movies, even to the barber shop. Now, eagle beaver baby.